Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my F2 2019 season for the British round of the championship today. We are currently sitting 16 points behind Nicholas Latifi in the championship. The last round in Austria was interesting, but thankfully we managed to recover in the end. But yeah, we need to beat Latifi in this round to stay in the fight, otherwise he's just going to keep extending his lead. So let's get into practice and see how we go.
Welcome to Silverstone, the home of British motor racing. The cars should be appearing any minute now for their free practice session.
Well done, P1. You've just put in the quickest lap of the session so far.
Thanks Jeff, that's what we need to hear. So, onto our best lap in practice. And you can see getting through Village and the loop quite nicely. I found these corners very tricky with the traction on the exit of the loop throughout the weekend, but you can see running a bit wide there, and that was a bit of a theme of the weekend, but we did manage to get that under control eventually. And speaking of eventually, took a long time to get to the apex there, but not too bad in terms of time. And now we move on to Magazine Beckett and get through there probably as nicely as I did all weekend, and hit all the apexes, which is actually quite tricky to do. So yeah, got through there very nicely. Green through the second sector, purple to the first sector. That is relative to our own times, and very wide on the entry to Stowe. But something else I should mention is it'll be dry all weekend up until the sprint race, where there'll be light rain conditions. So we will not need that extra set of tyres, but whether we use them or not in qualifying we'll find out as we improve our time once again.
As all cars are now over the line, your top three again are Calderon, Joe and Luca Ghiotto. Practice times are on the board then, but no points are on offer just yet. We'll be back with more F2 action soon.
So what stands out about that is Nicholas Latifi is down in 11th place, and Nick de Vries down in 8th, Ralph Boschung up in 7th, and a bit of a mixed up top couple of positions as well. So I think Latifi and de Vries didn't show what they can really do. So I'm not going to change the difficulty, I'm just going to get straight into qualifying and hope they find their normal pace back.
Here we are then, waiting for the green light to get qualifying underway for the British race.
So here we are for the only qualifying session. This isn't Formula 1, so I don't have none of this Q2, 3 business. It's just one session, simple, just qualify and let's go.
Checks complete. All personnel be aware, we have a car leaving.
And like I may have mentioned, as the garage door goes up, like I may have mentioned earlier, we need this pole position, we need the points that come with it more than the pole position itself. So we need to make these qualifying sessions count, because strangely enough in F2 they haven't really been my strong point like they have been in Formula 1. I don't know why it's different, but I'm much more better in the races in Formula 2 than in qualifying. That's brilliant English. But let's set a good lap in the session and see where that puts us. So onto our qualifying lap now through Abbey. Missed the apex of it a little bit, but we get through turn 2 nicely. Can't quite recall the name of that corner, but anyway, now through Village and the loop, and focusing more so on the exit here, and it's not too bad. Didn't quite get the line just right, but the exit is what's important, and that was okay. So now towards Brooklands was a little bit more to the inside than I wanted to, so I flipped it to the right before going into the corner, but that didn't really work, and we missed the apex because the car was just on the wrong trajectory from the beginning, so that cost a bit of time. Then I overslowed it a bit through left field, and it got up on the inside curb, and that wasn't great for the lap time. Missed the apex of Maggots a bit, but nicely through Beckett's and onto the hanger straight now, and we are purple to the first sector, green to the second sector, so we are making some decent time nonetheless on this lap. And as we come around the final corner, we will improve on our previous time.
As we wind down from the excitement of qualifying, here's a look at your top three. Calderon, Sete Camara and Jordan King. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the feature race tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Thank you, Alex. So yeah, very mixed up grid in this one. Anton Hubert is up in 4th, Sete Camara P2, but Graf Boschung down in 8th. But a good qualifying by him. But as we look further down the list, you can see Nicholas Latifi and Nick de Vries 11th and 12th. It is an absolute disaster of a qualifying session for them. Guan Yu Zhou down in 14th compared to the pole position he got here in real life. So it's a very interesting mixed up grid, and there will be a lot of drivers who will be in the fight for that reverse grid pole. It'll be a very good fight, probably between Joe, Matsushita, and Mazepin had a good qualifying as well, Boschung, and obviously Latifi and de Vries. They will all be trying to get that P8 and make up for their bad qualifying in the sprint race.
Welcome to Silverstone, one of the staples of the Formula 2 Championship. It's a firm favourite amongst fans and drivers alike, and we're all keen to see what it has in store for us in today's race. 5 miles out from Toaster, this icon of British motorsport heritage comprises 18 corners over 3.6 miles of circuit. Silverstone has been through several changes over its lifetime, with the start line now leading into Abbey, a fast right-hander for turn 1. But still there, of course, is the circuit's most famous and iconic sequence of corners, starting at Maggots, turn 10. As we await the start of another hugely anticipated Formula 2 race, I'm joined again by Davide Valsecchi. Davide, as a former GP2 champion, can we get some insight to what is running through these young drivers' heads as they sit out on the grid?
Ciao Alex, it's a pleasure to be here. There are nervy moments, there is no doubts about that. Mental strength is the key to remaining calm and focusing on the upcoming race. Formula 2 is so competitive, and all of these drivers knows that they are going to be pushing each other all of the way. In this sport, you have to be able to control your nerves.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's results with a look at the starting grid.
Tatiana Calderon lines up on pole position, with Sergio Sete Camara alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have King, Hubert, Mick Schumacher, and Boschung Mazepin. Aitken,
Correa, Nobuharu Matsushita,
Latifi, De Vries,
Kalaminot.
and Joe.
Galeo,
Raghunathan, Giotto,
and Louis Delatraz.
Boccolacci and Giuliano Alesi starts from the back of the grid.
And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
You've done well to put it on pole, but we've still got work to do. Trying to cover the inside line off the start.
Alright, we will try to do that if we can, as we now go to 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the feature race here at Silverstone, and it is a bad start by me. Sete Camara is immediately straight past, and we are trying to cover off everyone else. A little bit wide through the first corner. Sete Camara slow, so we have a little think about a move to the inside, but decided against it. That would be a big dive to get that done, and I'm not going to risk doing that at turn 3, especially after what happened with Sete Camara in Austria. We want to get through this weekend as cleanly as possible. So onto the Wellington Straight. Little think about a move into Brooklands, but again, there was just nothing we could ever do there. So let's see, can we get a good run towards Cops? But
Alright, let's focus now for the rest of the race.
the switchback line there really didn't work. I thought taking a really wide entry line would give me a better run through the corner, but I didn't quite get that right. But the AI, or even in real life, they do take a weird line through Luffield. But anyway, now through Maggots and Beckett's, massive aggression over the curbs, especially through Beckett's, right on the inside there. And we're going to try to get a good run onto the hanger straight to make a move into Stowe if we can, but Sede Camera is just too far ahead. We've got to run, but we're just not going to get close enough by the time we get to Stowe to make a move on Sede Camera. But we close up massively on the brakes, almost running into the back of Sede Camera, but we just about get away with it and can continue on. But now through the last couple of corners, very, very tricky corners, but if we can get through here well, we will be in a good position to make a move into turn 3 or into Luffield. So let's see what we can do. We are close enough to Sede Camera, massively aggressive through the first corner, almost cutting the corner just about there. But we got away with it. And Sede Camera is so slow through turn 2. We go around the outside, back onto the racing line, and make turn 3 very nicely. And we have taken the lead of the feature race here at Silverstone. And now it is just a matter of getting these tyres through the pit stop window. But speaking of which, we move on to lap 10, and we've got a puncture in the front left tyre. Somehow the traction isn't too bad through Maggots, but it gets progressively worse as we go on, and we have to almost come to a complete stop to make Beckett's get a whack from one of the cars as they go past Jordan King, that was. But we are not slowing down for this puncture. We are blazing along the straight at high speed, drag racing with Aitken there, I think that is, on the left hand side. But we eventually get the car to pit lane, had to again come to just about a stop to make it through Stowe. But we have made it into pit lane without crashing. If it was a rear puncture, that would be a very different story, but front punctures are just about manageable. But that was out of the blue. I had no indication
Complete, go now.
that the tyres were wearing. Jeff was saying the tyres were, you know, the usual,
Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound.
you know, the usual things that the tyres are wearing out. But I had no indication that they were at the point where they're about to puncture. Normally, you do get some kind of warning, but that was very strange. So we've lost a lot of time in doing that, but we didn't get front wing damage by crashing or contact or anything, so we're very lucky in that regard. So we're going to make the most of that, and as we move on past pit lane, ignoring Jeff's strategies, we pass a bunch of cars, and we re-emerge in P5. So the damage isn't too bad to our race, and the pace on these harder compound tyres I know will be much better, so we can push on, and these tyres should make it to the end very easily. They're a very, very hard compound tyre, so we move on, make a move on Jordan King down the inside into Stowe, and the battle for the lead is not that far ahead. Schumacher, Hubert and Sede Camera are all very, very close, so this will be an interesting 4 or potentially 5-way battle for the lead through the rest of this race. So as we move on, Mick Schumacher actually retires from the race on lap 19 with a mechanical failure, so he drops out of the battle for the lead. So we now move on to lap 20, and we've not quite caught up to the battle for the lead, but Hubert is putting the pressure on Sergio Sede Camera, as we're not quite making the apex there at Village. But it's been a while, and Hubert has not been able to make a move, or neither could Schumacher on Sede Camera, but he doesn't seem to have the pace that he did at the start. Sede Camera, at the beginning of the race, the two of us were stretching away from the field, but now Hubert is piling the pressure on, and as was Schumacher just before. So it'll be interesting to see if Hubert can do what Schumacher couldn't, and make an overtake for the lead of this race. So we will see, and very wide there through Cops. So now along the Wellington Straight, Hubert is still behind Saturday Camera. He could have gone for a dive there, but just didn't do it. And I'm starting to lose patience with Hubert just a little bit. It's been a couple of laps now, and he's just not making a move on Saturday Camera. So I'm not sure if I don't want to interfere with their battle though, because I'm not sure. I don't want to hold up Hubert too much, because he does have a good chance of overtaking Saturday Camera. But our main rival is Nicholas Latifi. He's down and out of the points, so we're going to score big against Latifi anyway. But we'll see what Hubert does here. He's very close behind ZA Camera. He's going to have DRS, so will he be able to make the move into Stowe? He's very, very close behind. He goes to the inside, down the inside of ZA Camera. We go very deep into that corner. A little bit excited there, but ZA Camera manages to hold it round the outside.
Has just moved into first place.
Hubert back to the inside, but unable to make the dive there. So Hubert, a good effort, but he just didn't quite pull it off, and ZA Camera maintains his position ahead of both of us. So we move on, and we're sitting right behind Antoine Hubert, and in turn he is still right behind ZA Camera, and we set the fastest lap
By about 3/10 a lap.
of the race. But at this point I'm starting well and truly to lose patience, and we go round the outside of Hubert, down the inside into Village, and we are side by side, and he's going to dive us back into the loop, and we make a little bump, bit of contact there, but Hubert holds on. So we may have just cost him a little bit of time there, but I just needed to get past him, but couldn't quite pull it off there. So he's willing to fight for these positions as Ralph Boschum retires from the race, and that's a shame. He was holding down a very solid position in this one. Even undoubtedly would have scored points, I think. So anyway, we move on. Hubert is trying again on ZA Camera on the inside at Stowe, but again he just can't get it done, and this time we're going to send it down the inside into the last few corners, the club corners, and we get that very wrong, and Jordan King gets us back. So he's here, and it is now a four-way fight for the lead. Jordan King is back. We haven't really seen him too much since the first couple of rounds, but we are battling away with him now. Really slow through turn 2, just like ZA Camera was. We go round the outside, dive him into turn 3, and we get that move done. And we can now focus on Hubert once again. If we can hold off Jordan King, that is. We got a bad run through the loop, but not too bad on the exit, and we'll hold on for that one. But Jordan King back in the fight, but we've lost out a lot of time now to Hubert, but you can just see how much ZA Camera is holding him up. We're gaining massively already, so it is Hubert needs to get this move done as soon as possible. So now heading towards the Brooklands once again. Hubert was looking around a bit there, so again just not making the move that he needs to. I feel like his strongest point is into Stowe, but he just never is getting that move done. He just needs to send it at Stowe and force the move, because this is for the race win, and I'm waiting for him to make the move, and I can try to follow through. Otherwise I'm just going to have to overtake him myself and try to take the lead from ZA Camera myself. So we go round the outside of Hubert into the club section, and we get that done, because it's now my turn. I've given him enough time. He's not made the move.
That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep this up.
And we set the fastest lap even in doing that. So now on the Wellington Straight, down the outside into Brooklands, and not quite getting that done there, but we managed to hold it there down the inside into Luffield. ZA Camera gives us the space, much to my surprise, gives us a hit in the mid corner though, and we managed to get that move done. On Sede camera, the head went up in anger actually for that hit, but we have gotten the move done on Sergio Sete camera, and we have taken the lead back after all that's happened in this race with the puncture, and we have taken the lead back in this race through Maggots, and Baggots now missing the apex there, and it is now up to Hubert to try to get a 1-2 as we run wide through Beckett's, and we may just cost ourselves the lead here. Sede camera is coming at a rate of knots, and we're going to cover off the inside. Sede camera is going to go to the outside. We're covering him off though, and we just about hold on to the lead, but we all but bottled it there, but thankfully we were able to hold on. So we move on now to the lap 29 of this race, and the final lap of the race. And if you look in the top left corner, Hubert is going to overtake Sede camera at the last opportunity, the final sector of the final lap. Here's how we got it done. He got a great run out of Maggots and Beckett's, and he is right behind Sede camera, coming towards Stowe down the inside, and he sends it this time, gets the move done, makes the apex, and he takes P2 right at the last minute as we come across the line to win the feature race in Silverstone.
Fantastic drive, just fantastic. You deserve that race win.
It's a 1-2 for the team at the last moment.
So another fantastic victory for Arden today. And Davide Valsecchi, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I think this race was won thanks to the tire management. You have to remember, it's not just about going as fast as you can. It's about consistency. It's about maintaining your speed over an entire race distance. So being able to keep the lap time competitive while still respecting the tires, that's where they won today.
As they make their way down to the podium, there's no denying the strength of the Arden team. Arden aren't afraid to take risks on new talent, and it certainly looks like it paid off today. Fantastic work. And now, let's take a look at the driver's standings. Tatiana Calderon takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. Now then, Davide Valsecchi, who would you say was your driver of the day?
Difficult call, but I'd like to say Luis de Letras. He was just perfect in conserving the tires and made the difference at the end.
On to the teams then. We saw a dip in form from the championship leaders today. Their lead has taken a significant blow. Goodbye for now then, but we really are just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So, a pretty nice race in the end, all things considered, and I really enjoyed that one. The puncture actually, I don't think really cost us much time, because we got the undercut on the field, and that really saved us in that race, put us back in the top 5, and we were able to recover any lost time. But looking at the race, everyone else had Hubert getting the move done in the end, getting the P2, getting the 1-2 for the team, so good effort from him, and we maximise our points for the weekend so far. But looking down the rest of the field, Sede camera had his pace mysteriously disappear. We both stretched away from the field in the beginning, but yeah, later on Sede camera just didn't have the pace to compete with everyone else. And looking towards the back end of the points, Delatraz obviously a good race as he got driver of the day. Callum Ilott just missing out on reverse grid pole in 9th position. That reverse grid pole going to Guan Yu Zhou. So he does get a pole position at Silverstone just for the sprint race. Matsushita will share the front row with him, and Juan Manuel Correa will start 3rd, so he has a really good chance of a podium finish here if he can hold on to that. So that will be very interesting to see how all of that plays out. It is another mixed up grid for the sprint race, so I'm really looking forward to this one. Shame for Ralph Boschung, he was having a really great race as well, but unfortunately did not make it to the end. And as with Mick Schumacher, he was fighting for the lead when he retired, so it could have been a very different race if we saw them make it to the end, but nonetheless we will move on to the sprint race and see what we can do. Let's get into it.
We've reversed the top 8 from yesterday's race to set the grid for the sprint race here today, and the drivers are almost ready on the grid down below. Davide, is there anything we should be looking for in today's race? The teams are all very competitive at the moment, so are we about to witness a push from anyone in particular?
Hi Alex, the team will have been studying everyone else out there very carefully. So I think we are in for a very interesting event today. I can't wait to see how this race unfolds.
Right, let's be patient going into turn 1. We want to be in a good position for the rest of the race. Good luck.
Alright, thanks Jeff. We will need to be very careful into the first corner of this one. It's obviously raining, it'll be very tricky to judge the grip. We need to get these wet tyres up to temperature.
Everything looks good on the power unit cycle, so let's concentrate on bringing tyres and brakes up to temperature.
It will be as important as ever to get this race start right in the rain, and I'm not really sure how this will go. I'm not sure what to expect. The AI is said to be good in the rain, but at the same time, this is Formula 2. Most people who say that are talking about F1, so it could be an entirely different game. As we watch Joe and Matsushita take their places at the front of the grid, the rest of the field filling in behind them, as we now go to 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the sprint race here in Silverstone. In wet conditions, we get a lot of wheel spin off the start, and Callum Ilott is immediately round our outside. But we're going to switch around to his outside, round the outside of Ilott and Hubert, and almost set a camera, but there's no space there. We're out on the grass, and Hubert gets us back. But we have got it back around Callum Ilott, make turn 3 well enough, and hold on to our starting position in position 8, and try to get a good exit onto the hangar straight, and hopefully Callum Ilott will not be close enough to try to re-overtake us, but we don't get the best exit. But here is the back of the field. Nick de Vries is a long way behind, so he's had some issue off the start. We'll investigate that shortly, but meanwhile Callum Ilott is down our inside, and we're going to try and hold it around the outside of Brooklands, but we just couldn't quite get there, and he gets around our outside, and now Giotto is around our outside, but
That start was okay. Now stay alert for threats around you.
we manage to hold him off there, and Nicholas Latifi manages to get a benefit from that, but thankfully for us we didn't lose the spot to Latifi. But Callum Ilott now is going to be a bit of a roadblock for us. It's very, very difficult to overtake in the rainy conditions. There's no DRS, obviously it's disabled, so we need to make this a proper, legitimate overtake. But we'll go back to the start of the race. You can see Delatraz and de Vries having a big weave, and by the time we get into the next camera shot, de Vries is already entering the corner backwards. So I'm not sure if what car he had contact with. We'll have to slow it down to have a better look. You can see there is Delatraz, and there's de Vries just coming out of line, and he's weaving very aggressively there, and it may actually have been Delatraz that he collided with, but once he appears in the shot there, he is already backwards. So we go on board with de Vries from the start, and let's see what he saw from his perspective. And you can see he had a decent start. Delatraz has his weave, Latifi goes to the outside, and de Vries does in fact make contact with Louis Delatraz, and now we will go on board with Louis Delatraz to see his perspective of what was going on. Why did he go for the big weave? And he went to the left, but that gap was closing. He went to the right, but lost the rear end in a straight line in the slippery conditions, and there's the contact. But he was already back on a straight line by the time that he made contact with De Vries. But we'll have to see. De Vries was moving around a lot as well. Here's the onboard with Giuliano Alesi. This might be the best perspective we'll see, and you can see De Vries did that to himself. And we'll see from Nikita Mazepin here another similar perspective, and he almost runs into his teammate. We'll slow it down on board with De Vries and watch the steering wheel here to see what he does. There's Delatraz losing the rear end in a straight, and watch the wheel work here for Nick De Vries. He's turning left, and he realizes he's in trouble, turns hard right, but it's too late. He's already about to run into Delatraz, hits him, spins around, and that ruins the race for Nick De Vries there. So he did that to himself, unfortunately for Nick, but he will, he'll be kicking himself for that. That was a bit of a silly mistake, but anyway, go back to live images now around the outside of Callum Ilott into the club section, and we get that move done on Callum Ilott. Next up is our teammate Antoine Hubert.
Okay, good work. Great pass.
So let's see if we can catch him. So we move on now, and we go down the inside of Antoine Hubert into the club section and get that move done fairly easily. But we're in a bit of a train here, battling away for fourth position effectively, which is Correa at the moment, but he's holding up Jordan King, who's holding up Sergio Sette Camera, but none of them have been trying to make moves or anything. They've just been just following in a train, so it's very weird to see. But Correa is it's doing a brilliant job to hold on to fourth position in this race. It would be a brilliant result for him. He's had a bit of a rough season so far, hasn't scored many points, if any, I'm not entirely sure. But the same can be said for Callum Ilott as well. He hasn't had a good season so far. The Sauber junior team are last in the constructors, but they are 4th and 9th in this race. So they are in position to score some decent points if they can hold on. I think Callum Ilott is just out of the points, as points only go down to 8th position in the sprint race. But Correa will score massive for the team if he holds on to 4th position. So anyway, we move on to the Wellington Straight, and I'm a long way behind Sette Camera, but you can see under brakes we have a lot more confidence, and we're going to have a little look around the outside of Correa through Brooklands, but we can't quite get there the way we did in the feature race, and the slippery conditions would be a contributor to that. You can't run around the outside in the rain, it just doesn't happen. So we had to slot him back behind, and lost a lot of time on the exit, and almost lost the rear end through that little corner there, which the name escapes me at the moment. But here's the battle for the podium. Guan Yu Zhou has a bit of a gap back to Matsushita, and Jack Aitken is putting the pressure on, but Matsushita has been doing well, holding him off so far. Meanwhile, Juan Manuel Correa is holding up a train all the way back to Hubert in 8th place. From his position in 3rd, Callum Ilott's holding a train from 9th place all the way back to 15th. He's got a big queue of cars behind him. And then Raghunathan is in 16th and has a train going all the way back to last, 20th place. So the race has split into...
Okay, we think the effects of the tyre deg are going to kick in soon. We should be alright for the time being, but you will start to find it a bit more slippery out there.
The race is split into about 4 groups of cars, and they have all got a few gaps. They've all got about a gap of about 5 seconds between them, and then it's just a train. So very weird to see that. And this is Jack Aitken, and he's slowing down, and I think he has an issue, a mechanical failure on lap 10 for Jack Aitken, and he has to just coast along the hangar straight at pit lane speeds, it just about seems, as Correa goes past, as well as the rest of us, and he will not finish this race, Jack Aitken, but it is a disaster for him at his home round at Silverstone. But what that means though is that the Sauber Junior Team drivers, Correa up onto the podium and Callum Ilott up into the points paying positions as we run wide, getting a bit distracted by Aitken as we went past, and Hubert.
The incident has been cleared. Let's get back up to racing speed.
Hubert gets back past us, so we will need to re-overtake him. That was a silly mistake I didn't need to make, but anyway, we eventually catch up to him once again and trying to make a move. We go to the outside towards the club section, down the outside. Can we get around the outside? This would be a pretty good move if we can get it done. Round the outside of Antoine Hubert to the inside, and we get the move done. But I don't think it's quite over. We got a pretty bad run through that section. Hubert has the momentum on his side. He got a brilliant exit out of the final corner. We're side by side heading along the pit straight, and he's going to retake the position into turn 1, and there's nothing I can do there. And in fact, in the next corner I run very wide and completely ruin any chance of immediately re-overtaking him there. So a really nice move by Hubert to get that position back, but well, the fighting between us is just holding us up. I need to either leave him alone and let him try to overtake Sade Camera, or I need to just get past him. So we move on once again. This is on board now with Hubert, and Sade Camera's defending a little bit, so he's starting to feel the pressure from Antoine Hubert, and maybe that is what Hubert needs to try to overtake him if Sade Camera starts holding himself up, and if he does that enough, he won't get the slipstream as well from the cars ahead. So here we go on the Wellington Straight. Hubert in the slipstream. Sade Camera defends, but Hubert just doesn't quite have enough momentum on this occasion to go for the move. But out of Maggots and Beckett's, he does. He has brilliant momentum. He goes to the outside straight away, to the left-hand side of Sade Camera, and he's going to outbrake him round the outside into Stowe, hold it round the outside, and he will take the position. Nice move, Antoine Hubert up into what is now 6th position, I believe, maybe even 5th. I've lost count slightly. And we go down the inside of Sade Camera and move up into 6th. So yes, Hubert is in 5th position. So a really good race by both of us so far, both overtaking Sade Camera, whose pace to qualify in 2nd has just vanished. But meanwhile, this is looking back from Hubert at the replay to see how big the dive was we had to make to overtake Sade Camera, but we got that done. And now in the closing stages of this race, I've decided I need to really conserve my tyres, because they are wearing out very, very quickly, and I do not need a puncture in the last couple of laps. And I think the front left tyre at this point is nearing that territory. The others are fine. The left rear and the front right tyres are fine. The right rear's just been on a holiday. But this race, I don't want a puncture to ruin the end of this race. So now we move on to the penultimate lap of the race, and you'll see just how slow we are taking some of these corners compared to what we could have been. We're not pushing the car at all. We're just sticking to the line and holding up Sergio Sade Camera. I decided after Hubert passed Sade Camera, there was a bit of a gap to him, and there was no way that I was going to be able to close the gap and overtake Hubert. And there's not really too much point. We're already outscoring Latifi massively in terms of the championship, and Hubert needs some more points to help him out in his championship and the battle for the constructors. So there's no point in us fighting each other, and I'm just holding up Sade Camera to just try to conserve these tyres and get them to the end of the race. We're very, very slow through there, but we run wide. Sade Camera runs wide with us. We defend to make sure he doesn't go down the inside, but he's there. And we just about managed to hang on around the outside, but we were going a little too slow there, and Sade Camera tried to make a move on us, but thankfully we held on. And now as we start nearing the final lap, we will need to start pushing on once again. So here we go. we will actually have a look at this on replay to see what Sede Camera saw from all of this. We were quite tight on the line heading into Woodcote, and we ran wide. Sede Camera was actually off track as well, so whether he had to let that position back to us, because it would have been an illegal overtake if he held on, I'm not sure, but we managed to hold on whatever the case. But now on the final lap of the race, we are going absolutely flat out. There is no point conserving now. We've got a little more than a sector to go, and we will take 6th position in this race as we look ahead, and Guan Yu Zhou crosses the line to win the sprint race here in Silverstone. Nobuharu Matsushita, a brilliant race to hold off Jack Aitken while he was there. And what about the battle for last between Giuliano, no, that's Ralph Boschung, sorry, and Nick De Vries. De Vries still not getting anywhere in this race. But what about the performance from Juan Manuel Correa? He's going to cross the line for 3rd place in this race. Brilliant race by Correa. But the battle for some of the points paying positions is not over. This is Callum Ilott and Sergio Sede Camera battling for the last points paying position in this race. So Sergio Sede Camera could come away pointless if he's not careful here. Callum Ilott has got a decent run through Maggots and Beckett's, and he was putting the pressure on all through that section, and he's going to have a run. He's gone to the outside heading towards Stowe. Hubert got this move done on Sede Camera here, and now Callum Ilott round the outside of Sede Camera through Stowe, and he will just about get that move done. Sede Camera has to give in, and Callum Ilott at the last moment steals the final points paying position in this race with just a handful of corners to go, and we are going to cross the line a little bit sideways through the last couple of corners, but we will make P6 in this race.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
What a finish for Callum Ilott there though, overtaking Sede Camera to score I think his 1st points of the season.
Brilliant stuff from Uni Virtuosi today. That's another historic win. And Davide Valsecchi, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I think this race was won thanks to the tire management. You have to remember, it's not just about going as fast as you can. It's about consistency. It's about maintaining your speed over an entire race distance. So being able to keep the lap time competitive while still respecting the tires, that's where they won today.
And as the adrenaline dies down after another eventful race, here come our top 3 out onto the podium.
So Guan Yu Zhou takes the race win from Matsushita, and what a performance from Correa up on the podium, holding off Jordan King for the entire race, as well as Sede Camera, Hubert, whoever else was hanging around at the time. Yeah, really nice driving.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. It's a good result for Tatiana Calderon, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. And now, Davide Valsecchi, let me ask you, who is your driver of the day?
Well, after a drive like that, it's got to be Nicolas Latifi. Very clean, very smooth. You can be really pleased with that one.
On to the teams then. We saw a dip in form from the championship leaders today. Their lead has taken a significant blow. There was also a strong showing from the MP Motorsport team today as they make their way up the standings. That's the end of today's race. Thank you for joining us, and I'm sure you'll agree it was a great race and sets us up nicely for the next installment in a few weeks' time. Take care. From Davide and I, it's goodbye.
Thank you, Alex and Davide. So, what to say about that weekend? We absolutely smashed it. Couldn't quite maximise what we had in the sprint race, but it was very tricky conditions, and to come away with some decent points is all I could have asked for. So yeah, I really enjoyed this weekend of racing. It was so much fun, a lot of battling, especially with Hubert, and really good to see that he's got some momentum in this championship now, and I think we can go for the constructors, the team's championship, if things go our way over the next few races. We'll have to see, but he's gained some good momentum, and hopefully we'll be able to carry that through to the season end. But anyway, we are 19 points ahead in the Drivers' Championship, 28 behind in the Constructors, so there's still plenty more to play out during this season. We've passed the halfway point. That was round 7 of 12, so 5 rounds to go. The next one's in Hungary. I'll see you then.